Hi, my name is MHuelga, and I'm going to be presenting to you today the Community Health Needs Assessment for Monterey Peninsula Unified School District, or MPUSD, in Monterey, California. So the methods that were conducted for this project was the MAP-IT methodology. So this MAP-IT methodology has been used for Healthy People 2020, a nationwide health objective recording system. It uses both data collection and qualitative data analysis. So that's why I think it's going to work really well for this project, just because it has the quantitative and then the qualitative as well. We'll assess the present strengths and weaknesses of the community, and then the assessment process and the implementation process for future tracking and everything is very community-centered, which is really important for long-term success. So MAP-IT stands for Mobilize, Assess, Plan, Implement, and Track. So we're going to work with community partners and stakeholders to mobilize and then assess the needs and assets and use baseline data collection. So the main measurements that we're going to use are for the priority health issues, which is food insecurity rates, which can be measured by breakfast consumption, and we'll go into a little bit more of this later. Homeless rates, which is conducted by survey and self-reporting data, and then obesity rates, which is mainly measured through body composition. So based on these measurements in the assessment, we're going to plan based on these measurements with clear objectives and steps. Then we'll implement action steps, community approval for these action steps, and then the communication plan to move forward. And then ongoing, we're going to track what we measured and then assess the outcomes based on that data. So there's clear quantitative measurements, but then we'll use that qualitative and more sociocultural approach with working with the community to make sure that the qualitative measurements are realistic and substantial for the community. So the demographics that we're going to be working with within MPUSD. So MPUSD, the district itself, has 24 different schools. Out of those 24 schools, there's preschool, elementary school, middle school, high school, independent study, and then adult schools. And then they reside based in Monterey, Seaside, Delray Oaks, and Marina, which are all individual towns within Monterey County. Within the 24 schools, there's a total of 10,653 students, 531 teachers, which is a 20-to-1 student ratio. And then the primary demographic ethnically is going to be Hispanic, with a little bit over 55%. So there's a really high number of schools within the district. That's based on both of the California as well as within the county itself. So most other schools within the county, Carmel, for example, or Pacific Grove, and then Salinas or the North County, they're actually only going to mostly have one or a few schools within their district. 5 is usually the highest that you would see, and then they're mostly based on age groups. So it's pretty rare, or it's pretty unique rather, to have both a preschool and then an adult school, for instance, within one district. So then the socioeconomic status, or the socioeconomic measures of MPUSD, are really important when conceptualizing all of the movement that we're going to be doing or discussing. So the spending is going to be more than what MPUSD receives, which has resulted in, measured in 2014, in a $15.9 million deficit. So right now, the district is working with a substantial amount of negative income, which is really difficult. And then looking at the towns that reside in the district, has a pretty high property value, and then they're all mostly within a similar household income, but you can also see the diversity within Monterey, Seaside, and Marina. They're all going to be somewhat different. Seaside and Marina are going to be fairly similar, but then Monterey having a little bit higher property value, but then also higher income. So this shows a little bit more about the spending to funding ratio for MPUSD. That bluish color on the right compared to that yellow color on the left. So the yellow color on the left is for funding. So you want a lot more yellow. You want more money coming in than that blue color, which is the student spending, and that's leaving the district. So you can see Monterey Peninsula district right here in the bottom, that is going to have more blue, more spending than what you would see necessarily right here in Carmel. Or sorry, in the federal. All right, so then if you look at the neighboring districts, as I just commented, this is the Carmel School District, which is this dark blue, more of the affluent town, and then this light yellow right here is the in the middle is the North Monterey County School District, which is known as the lower income. MPUSD and North Monterey County have very similar rates for students who are eligible for free or reduced meals. This is really, really intriguing because, yes, they have the same socio-demographic rates per their population. But then if you look at their socioeconomics, North Monterey County actually has a surplus in funds. So not only are they getting subsidized assistance because they're known as a low-income community, but they also have a surplus in their budget. MPUSD, on the other hand, is a little bit more average, I would say. They're not a super low income, they're not a super high income, but they're just right in the middle between the two. But they have a tremendous budget deficit, so they're not getting the subsidized help, nor do they have the budget to implement the programs and services that their population does need. So the health issues overview, I touched upon food insecurity, obesity, and then shelter insecurity and homeless rates. These are going to be the top leading health issues, and they are all centered around low socioeconomic status. So what are the resources available? I touched upon the tremendous deficit that MPUSD is dealing with. What we can be proud of is the Provision 2 Lunch and Breakfast Program, which is a federally funded program that provides universal lunch and breakfast meals for the schools that qualify. So breakfast can improve school performance, and it can also improve BMI. There's been some great studies in breakfast consumption and reducing food insecurity for proper BMI and reducing obesity rates. MPUSD also has developed a wellness council that focuses on fresh and healthy food ingredients, so reducing high fructose corn syrup and any additives and preservatives through their Fresh and Delish program. And then they also have a lot of community partners. As I said, they do, and as MapIt, our method, works with a lot of community partners. They might not have the budget to implement an after-school program per se, but there are local organizations that are able to provide that service. Definitely the challenge in these resources, the limitations, is going to be the budget deficit along with the large population size of MPUSD. So looking at food insecurity itself, we definitely need more federal and state priority for this issue. It is external of the district's jurisdiction, so they can help address it, but they can't necessarily help overcome it. Children are still going to go home to, an uncertain meal, and so it's really important to work within the school programs and the after-school programs and community partners to make sure that we do address and acknowledge this issue. Food insecurity can lead to nutritional deficiencies, poor school performance, and then, as I mentioned, obesity and chronic diseases. Obesity itself poor food quality and lack of exercise, with lack of resources and lack of budget. School programs like physical education are going to be cut, after school activities, and this is another point in the methodology where we really have to focus on community partners and external resources on what they can provide and how they can fill the gaps that where MPUSD is not able to fund such extracurriculars. MPUSD, with their wellness council, is doing a great job with educating and providing quality foods and educating in quality healthy lifestyle and just overall school environment, health promoting environments. Obesity can lead to chronic diseases and a lifetime of health challenges, both physically and mentally. There's a lot of social stigma against obesity and overweight. Then there's shelter insecurity. So shelter insecurity is different than homeless too. Homeless is definitely a priority health issue, but we also want to we don't want to overlook those who might have a shelter over their head while they're home at night, but they don't know if they will tomorrow. There was a survey done by an after-school program that although they weren't homeless, many of the children often stayed with friends or family just because they didn't know if they were going to have a roof over their head the next night. So that's more of that insecure place. Again, we really need federal and state priority for this, and MPUSD is addressing it in more of the food security aspect, and then surveying just to get more information and more knowledge to acknowledge the issue and hopefully address it in another way that they can. Shelter insecurity is going to lead to food insecurity, lack of resources for school performance, so they're not going to come home and have a pencil to do their homework, for instance. And then, of course, increased stress with just who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So overall, MPUSD is a very diverse and large population where they're constrained in a deficit, but they have a lot of community partners to work around. So we have the quantitative data figures as we need in this methodology for the community health needs assessment, and then working with the community partners to rationalize and to ensure that these measures are appropriately reflecting the population that we're working with. There are definitely positive steps and positive acknowledgments. MPUSD recognizes the leading health priorities of food and shelter insecurity, as well as obesity and potential chronic diseases. But these are very slow-moving projects, so ongoing monitoring is definitely necessary. But awareness is definitely the first step, so they're doing a great job with that, and they're hopefully on their way to getting out of the deficit, being able to take more action steps themselves, and then continue to engage and work with the community partners. Thank you.